What's up? Of course we gotta have technical issues. So, right before the stream I was trying to adjust my camera settings a bit, and I ended up having to restart the streaming software, and it wouldn't let me restart that stream, so I started a new one, which means only the extra special dedicated people out there are actually here. So that's even better, you know? We got rid of the normies. Now we got the real fans. How's it going, everyone? It's so good to see you. Despite the difficulties, we still got 40 people here. I'm totally cool with that. This is a super last-minute stream, and as usual, it shows. But that's okay. We're still gonna have fun. We're opening up a new printer today. How's it going, everyone? We got Yeetus, a channel with no name, AP, all kinds of weird names. All you with your YouTube names, they get harder and harder to remember. See, I like a Daniel. Just call yourself Daniel. Wild Pepper, that's a good name too. Anyways, I'm glad you're here. Those of you who made it, those of you who found your way. It's gonna be exciting. We're gonna open up a printer and just chill, chat, a little Q&A, whatever y'all feel like. So, this right here is the Artillery Hornet. This is a printer that Artillery was very eager to send to me. So even though it's not available for sale yet, I said, okay, fine, I'll take it. I'll take a look. It looks interesting, it's got some new tech, and even if this machine right here is probably not the same exact thing that people will be receiving in the future, it could still be fun to check out and try out. And for those of you who don't have 3D printers yet, I think it's always handy to observe an unboxing process from start to finish so you can see what goes into setting up a printer. This does have some weird things going on, but overall it looks like a pretty standard 3D printer. So if you're one of those total beginners getting set up with the Ender 3v2, or my personal favorite for beginners at the moment, which is the Sovol SV01, or the other Artillery printers, the Sidewinder and the Genius, they've been good. They've been good. This one right here is a little different from the other Artillery printers. It is not direct drive, which I really like direct drive printers, but this is kind of a weird hybrid. It's got this big chunky cable to feed the filament, I believe. Anyways, we'll see. This printer was sent to me like a month ago, and it was sent to several other people as well, so there might have been a few unboxings already, but I promise you I haven't watched a single unboxing. I really know very little about this machine, except that I think it uses like an HDMI input to heat up the extruder or something weird like that. But yeah, I really don't know much, so it's going to be a first impression for me. How much will it be? I think it's in the like $250, $300 range. But that stuff can always change. Like I said, this is pretty much a review unit. I was just thinking about it because some people were complaining about No Man's Sky, the game, and of course Cyberpunk is famous now for being released in an unfinished state, and that's exactly what happens with a lot of 3D printers, especially coming out of Shenzhen, China, where there's a super competitive environment. They're just constantly trying to stay on top of the competition, so even once they release a printer, like a month later, they'll have a V2 and then a V3. I think the Artillery Sidewinder is on like a V4 or 5. Anyways, let's open it. Yes, people want it opened, and that's what it's about. We've got the Dagger of Truth opening it up. Let's see if it speaks to me today. Oh, Dagger of Truth, impart me with your wisdom. The dagger, it's telling me that it's impossible for me to create an impartial review for a 3D printer that I've received for free. Wow, that's deep. They make a fair point, the Dagger of Truth. Yeah, I did receive the printer for free, and while I'm always trying to do my bestest job of giving you guys an impartial review, it's something to consider. It's been a hot topic a little bit this past week and for a long time. Just about every review you're going to get from a big 3D print channel is going to be a printer that we've been sent from the company for free in exchange for doing the review. Now, the good thing about that situation, specifically here with 3D printers, is that there's so many companies. I think most of us big names in the 3D printing space don't have any close ties with a 3D printer company. I mean, yes, I have enjoyed the Sidewinder and the Genius, but if something about this printer sucks, I will not be afraid to tell you. And that's about all I can give you, is my word that I'm trying my best to be very honest and straightforward with my reviews. But yeah, I guess you can't say it's impartial, right? So let's open it up. I'll zoom in a little bit sooner, but in a bit. I think this is a good view for y'all to get a top-down view into the box, right? Here we go. There it is. We've got, it's all pretty loose, but we've got the Hornet manual, Q&A checklist, not Q&A, QC, quality control. Apparently it has been controlled for quality. We'll see, we will see. So yeah, here's the weird cable that I was talking about. We'll have to zoom in on this later. It's not HDMI, I was wrong. It's more similar to like a MIDI cable or something, but basically there's 7 pins surrounding the Bowden PTFE tube. So the filament runs through the middle, and that's surrounded by the wiring that actually powers the extruder. Let's see if I can give you a close-up view. I did put on a different lens today so I could actually zoom in. Let's see. There you go. What do you all think of this? Pins surrounded by the tube. My initial thoughts are that it can be, I don't know. My very initial thought is like, oh, are they trying to be special in some way by, you know, there's so many gimmicks to be like unique among the 3D printer space. We'll find out if this is a gimmick or if it's actually helpful. It could be handy because, yeah, it's great cable management. You're not going to have excess cables. But if you end up having to replace the Bowden tube, it might be extra annoying. So that might be like the anti-gimmick, is they're trying to get you to buy a whole new cable instead of just being able to replace a cheap tube. I don't know. I do like that it's like stiff and it probably helps keep the shape so the filament runs through really smoothly, but it's kind of weird. Yeah, random viewer. It is weirder than an HDMI cable in some regards. It's like a totally proprietary cable, to the best of my knowledge. For those of you who don't know, I kind of got into 3D printing as a designer versus most people who get into 3D printing from an engineering point of view. So I'm not like super technical. If you want the details of like this is the rating of a power supply, or there's something going on funky with the motherboard, I probably won't be able to tell you. I'm approaching these unboxings from the point of view of pretty much a consumer level understanding. I mean, obviously I've been doing this for years. I know a bit more by now about 3D printers, but anyways. Yeah, here I go rambling, as always. Let's yank this frame out. It's got the standard aluminum extrusion gantry. Same thing you'll see on a CR10, Ender 3, or just about every printer coming out these days. Can I set that aside somewhere? Poison Player, what do I think of the Snapmaker? I mean, my last unboxing was the Snapmaker 2.0. I've played around with it a little bit, but actually the current state of the Snapmaker is that I went ahead to switch to the laser engraving function, and my laser is kind of, my laser is dead. So it seems, as far as I can tell, they sent me a bad laser, so they're sending me another one on a slow boat, so it might be a while until I can actually get that running. A bit unfortunate, but they were quick to respond and offer me a replacement. So, Snapmaker is a solid looking printer, but it's a little too early for you to hear my full opinion. All right, so here's the base of the printer, and this is the part that like stood out to a lot of people because it looks like a car. This looks like a Lamborghini. I don't know why I'm trying to say everything funky right now. Live streaming ain't easy, you know. It takes takes a certain amount of something. It takes some kind of skill to live stream and not just be rambling like I am. All right, and the extruder is also separate. So we're gonna have to attach the extruder. Kind of weird, but I guess my Cambrian printer that we unboxed recently had the same thing going on. Anyways, so we've got the main body, the base here with the power unit, power supply and everything going on. We've got the gantry, the Z-axis here. The screws are already in place, which is kind of nice, makes it just a little bit easier to install. And then we've got this top part. Yeah, Aiden, it is kind of a weird looking printer, but at the same time, it's very similar to most of the other printers that are coming out right now. They literally just added this injection molded plastic shell around it, but I don't think that's gonna affect the function of the printer whatsoever. Did I say I like it? I'm not sure actually. It seems a bit unnecessary. Like this, I mean, unnecessary in the sense that it's not going to affect print quality or anything, but let's be real, marketing is a thing, so they want to stand out, they want to sell a printer, so they slap this little Lamborghini front onto it in order to make it stand out in the market. And if it truly is a $250 printer, then I guess that's not such a big deal because it's competitive price-wise with other beginner printers of this size. I don't know. Let's see. Let's keep going. I think I could zoom in a bit now, give you all a better view. Yoink. I think that's okay. Let's make sure we're focused. Looks good. All right. So this should be a really quick assembly. Yeah, I'll keep this on while we put the gantry on just to make sure we don't scratch up the bed on accident or anything. What's going on here? Oh, this is so interesting. Another change is the stepper motor is on the top. Huh. Hold on. I gotta turn the brightness up a little now. Cameras. Okay, this is weird. Yeah, I was looking at it. I was like, why is the Z-axis rod just dangling here? And that's because it's being controlled from the top down. Very interesting. Seems there are a few things different about this printer, more than I expected. Maybe I should look at the manual. Ha. Nah. Even though I am debating how I want to screw this in place right now. Let's get this out of the way. Do I just want to turn it sideways? Yeah, I think we can put this sideways. And then I'll just start screwing in the Z-axis here. Like most of these printers, there's 4 large screws coming in from the bottom. 2 on each side to hold these 2040 aluminum extrusions into place. Denise, you're asking what I would recommend for schools in terms of printers for beginners and quantity. Well, for one thing, gosh, that depends a lot on the kind of setup you're going for as a school. I know some schools will basically put some students in charge. Pretty much any school now, elementary school, I think, is going to have a few students who are already familiar with an Ender 3 or a CR10. And they're probably very willing to help out in setting up a little makerspace for the school. So I would actually trust the students to make those decisions. Give them a budget, have them decide which printers to go for. And of course, they can go cheap printers, high quantity, or they can get some more straightforward printers and maybe not have as many of them. But yeah, of course, that's going to depend on the size of the classes and everything. That's a very indirect answer, or non-answer. I mean, I really like the Sovol SV01. It's pretty straightforward and easy. But, you know, if you want the capability to have like, if you want to be able to create a queue and have students submit their designs online and automatically prepare to print and stuff, you might have to get a more advanced printer. And I've been basically just dealing with hobby, like cheaper printers for the last year plus. I remember the Dremel 3D45. Is it 3D45? 30. The Dremel printers are like pretty expensive in comparison, but they also had those features where you could, you know, they have like a cloud-based system to submit prints, and someone could be the print manager and basically look things over and start a print. I don't know. I might not be the right person to ask about that. I haven't really dealt with setting up printers for a school environment. For those of you in the chat, maybe some of you out there have maker spaces or printers at your school. Maybe you can offer some advice to Denise in terms of what you guys do at your school. I think that would be a good way to kind of hear about it. So Will says, my high school has an Ultimaker 3. I'm one of the only ones who actually uses it. Pretty sweet. Yeah, so that also seems to be like a common thing, is there's very few people who actually use the 3D printer because they have to know how to do it. And there's a little bit of a learning curve. But yeah, the Ultimaker 3, for example, is quite a pricey printer, but it's also very reliable and very sturdy and probably a bit more foolproof than these things. So I guess schools generally are willing to spend a bit more for convenience and whatnot. Ultimaker printers have been around forever, and they're still pretty top of the line. All right, so took me a while, but I got those 4 screws in there. Sorry, I'm out of frame, but there we go. The gantry's set up. Like I said, or like we saw, there's the Z-axis up here on top, which I haven't seen. I feel like I've seen it, but I can't remember the last time I've seen that on a printer. And does it make sense? Well, in some ways it does. I mean, the rod is just hanging, so I guess it, I don't know. Does it make sense? I feel like the dampener here is kind of just hanging, so it's not actually functioning in the way it's meant to dampen backlash on the Z-axis. It's kind of weird. I think we're just going to have to try it out and see how it affects things. What do y'all think? Does it make sense to have the Z-axis up top? One thing I was hearing about recently is that having weight on top of the gantry can cause a little bit of extra wobble and affect print quality. Because I've always had my spool holders on top of the printer. I've actually converted most of my printers to have spool holders on the top because it takes up less space. I've got a lot of printers. Space is valuable here. So I put the spool holder on top. Maybe it affects the quality a bit. I haven't noticed it a ton, but I am newly informed about that possibility, so I might do some side-by-side comparisons to see how much of a difference it really makes. But then again, I feel like if this is really screwed in tight, there's very little wobble there. And I also run my prints rather slowly. Anyways, I'm just going to start plugging things in. It seems pretty obvious which plugs have to plug together. These two are already right next to each other. So that's going to run up here and control the Z-axis. So that's already one thing that's awkward about it. Usually you can plug the stepper directly, like it's down here, so there's no like cable that has to run up like we have here. There's a cable actually running up the Z-axis. Kind of weird. So far, my impression of this printer is just kind of weird. Hey, Ogre Cubes, thanks for the super chat. You guys have a Prusa MK3 at school. Of course, Prusa printers are very well known for their reliability and for just working. I forget about the Prusas often because I never have managed to get my hands on one besides borrowing one for a short period of time, but I don't own a Prusa printer, as awesome as they seem. But that's probably a pretty great recommendation. All right, this cable is kind of already interfering with the Z-rod here. I might have to like tape it down or something. Oh, this is a weird one. All right, here's another plug. Where does this go? This is usually like the type of thing that plugs into an end stop. But where's the end stop on this Z-axis? Is it still on the bottom or on the top? I don't see an end stop for the Z. Ah, fine, I'll look at the manual. For once. Yeah, so far, Red Cocoon, I'm with you. This is kind of just a head-scratching build so far. I mean, it's been super easy, but I'm definitely curious about some of the decisions and whether they actually are improving things. Or, I don't know, they don't even make sense from a point of view of like making it easier to manufacture. Usually things are done for two reasons: to bring price down or to improve the end result. Some of these decisions, I'm not sure if it does either of those things. Anyways, we already did step one, which was tightening in those 4 screws. Next step is apparently to throw on the spool holder. Just gonna go on the right side. I think it just snaps in. No, it doesn't just snap in. It's supposed to. Okay, there we go. Kind of snaps in. I feel like if your filament snagged a little bit or something, it might pull the spool holder out. Oh, actually no, it's pretty locked in there. It's loose but locked. There we go. And this is another like injection molded piece. It's got metal screws though holding these two halves together. Again, it's like, did this actually bring down the cost for them? Okay, we did it though. So next step, connect the Z end stop and then the Z stepper motor. Well, I didn't connect, oh, there it is though. It's on the other side here. So the Z stop's on the front. Just plug that in. I guess you can't really see it, but nothing special. Just a little plug there. The white plug goes in the front and the stepper plug goes in the back here. Again, it's kind of like weirdly hitting the Z-axis rod, and I feel like that might wear away at the wire or something. Poison Player, the price, I believe it's around $250, at least the pre-order, and then it might go up to like $350. Don't go running to pre-order yet though, so we gotta experience this thing and see if it's any good. All right, Z-stop and Z-stepper motor are connected. Next, it's time to install the hot end with the M3 by 6 screws. There's 3 screws. All right. I guess we could zoom in a little further here. Get a real look at this thing. Oh. Okay. Let's see. I'm not sure if it's just because it's an early unit, but they gave me a little tool bag. There's a wrench, there's some Allen keys. No filament scraper, no clipper. No clipper to clip these zip ties. I'm gonna have to grab one that I've already got. I feel like any printer like this that's marketed to beginners or people who might be getting their first printer should come with one of these. It costs them maybe $1 to throw it into the package. So now we can move this. It's got 3 points here, 3 rollers. It's very firm. I don't think we need any adjustment here. A little tiny bag of screws. I think these are the M3 by 6 millimeter screws. Very tiny. There's one extra, just in case we lose it. There's also a little tiny piece of black PTFE tubing, which I guess we might have to stick it in there. Weird. Here's the hot end. Let's take a close-up look at the hot end for a minute. So as you can see, it's got the same connector up top here. It's going to connect to that strange cable of theirs. This is the positive end with the pins here, 7 pins, and then there's the hole in there for the PTFE tube to enter. Okay. You know what else it looks like? It kind of looks like Bumblebee from Transformers. And here are the 3 mounting points. So they create a very shallow triangle, but they're almost in a straight line, which could mean that there's a bit of wobble. We just need to make sure to tighten those nice and good. I like that there's pretty easy access to the different plugs. So here we've got the little hot end, or the little heater cartridge, a little thermistor plug. And we've got 1, 2, 3 fans. That's also pretty nice. Like we've got the cooling fan for the mechanisms in here. And then we've got part cooling fans, 1 on each side. And these kind of ducts that kind of direct the air towards the nozzle. They're not super close to the nozzle. It would be nice if they were a little closer, but I'm sure it'll work decently. All right, let's slap it on here. The reason the side fan is different from the center fan, who asked that? Mohamed. So these side fans are directing air downwards versus this fan pulls air directly through the center. So the design of the blades and whatnot is a little different because they're directing air a little differently. All right, let's find the right Allen key for these little tiny screws. I'm a little bit iffy about how tiny these little screws are that are holding the extruder. But then again, this isn't direct drive, so this is very lightweight. It doesn't have the actual stepper. It doesn't have any stepper motors on it, which are usually what adds the weight. And that's the argument for not using direct drive printers. Wait a minute, does this really just screw? Something's wrong here, I have a feeling. Oh, never mind. It's right. I was a little bit confused because there's like screw ends here. Oh, thank you for the money, Taft. I appreciate the super chat. And you're also here very often. I appreciate that you join many of my streams, despite the fact that I throw them up at random hours with little notice. Some cool folks always end up showing up. All right, I'm going to use my own Allen tool here. That's going to make this a little bit easier. See how much easier it is to install screws when you got a nice quality tool like this. Like I said, with a beginner printer like this, I'm of the opinion that the printer should come with everything you need to assemble it. So it's got the Allen keys. I mean, maybe I'm being finicky. You could have cut these zip ties with scissors, but they really should have included some clippers with the printer. But then again, like I said, it's a pre-order. They for sure know that I have plenty of clippers. All right, so the screws are tightened and yeah, it's pretty sturdy. If anything, the wheels here are a little bit tight. And for those of you who have assembled a printer like this, you probably know that there's usually one eccentric screw or eccentric nut on one of these wheels. I probably won't be able to show it. Yeah, you can't really see it, but basically you can adjust this eccentric nut that changes the distance between the rollers here. You can change the distance between the two rollers to make it tighter or looser, because you want to make sure that it can move smoothly but not have any wobble to it. But like I said, it already seems to be of a good tightness. There's a little bit of a bump. I feel like there might be a flat spot in one of these rollers, maybe. Right here. It kind of like catches for a second. Is there a flat spot? I don't know. Anyways. Moves all right. Moves all right. Greetings from Germany. 2 a.m., huh? I'm sorry. I'm trying to do my streams at all kinds of different hours so that different people can tune in. But it's never going to be convenient for everyone. All right. So, we're at step something. Ah, yes. Just like I mentioned about the eccentric nuts to change the tightness, they mention that as well, because you want to make sure the tension on both the wheels going in the Z-axis and in the X here, they should be a good smooth action to those. What else have we got on here that's maybe not completely normal? We do have a knob here that lets you tighten the belt, which is nice. It's important to have a good taut belt here so that you don't have any artifacts on the print from backlash. So I like that you can adjust that easily, and my Solvol printer had one on the Y-axis. There doesn't seem to be one on the Y-axis here. So the belt seems okay though. Yeah, I don't know. Strange printer. All right. What else? What else? I feel like we're almost done already. Okay, connect the extruder cable. Tighten down the cable by turning the locking mechanism. It's time to install this weird cable. I guess I gotta zoom out a little bit. All right, so this seems to be the same on both ends, so I'm gonna guess that it doesn't matter which way you plug it in. I'm just gonna make sure that the Bowden tube feeds straight in. And I'm just gonna kind of wiggle that into place. And then there's a ring here to tighten it. It's hard to like know if it's in all the way. Because you really wanna make sure that that PTFE tube is butted against the hot end, or at least the tube that's gonna, you don't want any gaps in the flow of your filament, or that could end up clogging your printer. All right, we'll plug the other end in here, tighten it. What a weird printer. But there it is. I mean, it is nice how stiff it is. It maintains this really nice, gentle curve, so your filament shouldn't snap as easily as it might. This is nice and easy. The tension here is good. I can slide it down with just a gentle touch. Alrighty. Now we've got this cable right here. This is the main cable, as they call it. And that just plugs in right above here on the gantry. This is going to control the x-axis, it seems. There's a port here to plug something in, but there's no mention of it. Maybe that's for installing BL Touch or something optional. I have no clue. Anyways, that's the assembly. Plug in the power supply and that should be that. Let's see. Usually there's a little switch where you can alternate between 110, 112 volts, or right here. Right here you can alternate between 115 volts and 230 depending on if you're in the US or Europe or wherever you are, whatever the rating is. What's coming out of your power outlets. 115 is going to work for us. Taft, I hope you're joking about being at a funeral right now. I think you are. Why is this not a Genius 2? Yeah. I mean, that would be nice too. I'm really curious what market they're going after with this printer. What their thinking was behind it. It's also weird to me right now. All right, it's time to level the bed, I guess. It was a very easy install, but so are most printers nowadays, you know? Still not seeing on where this fits between like a Ender 3 or like the Artillery Sidewinder, the Artillery Genius. Where this fits among all those printers. Why would you get this one? Nothing has exactly, it hasn't proven itself to me yet, but then again, we haven't printed a thing. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this sheet now. Well, actually, let's home it and make sure it doesn't dive straight into the platform. All right, you may not have noticed, but the printer is on. So, hey, there's one great thing about it. It's pretty darn silent, just like all of the artillery printers have been. Let's get a focus on that. Should I zoom in so you can see the screen? I think I'll just narrate we've got a pretty standard looking screen here. It's just like standard Marlin. Same thing you'll get on a CR10. It's not a touch screen like the Ender 3, or no, not Ender 3. It is similar to the Ender 3. It's not a touch screen like the Artillery Genius or the Sidewinder. So they're saving a little bit of money there on the screen. But I think the price is pretty competitive with their Genius printer. So again, I'm not sure what the selling point is really for this one, besides it looks like a Hot Wheels car. Anyways, let's go ahead to temperature and preheat PLA. So let's go ahead and preheat PLA. And their preheat setting brings the bed to 70 Celsius, which is actually kind of on the high end for PLA. I guess I will remove this protective thing right now. So in order to not have the printer run into the bed, it's usually a good idea to just tighten the leveling screws, bring the bed down all the way before you try homing it. Even then you might have an accident if they didn't put the end stop low or high enough. But considering that these printers do go through quality control, at least that shouldn't be a thing. Alright, so I'm turning all these screws to the right. And you know the saying, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey? Well, I've always tried to figure out a good one for leveling your bed. I don't know what righty stands for, but instead of lefty-loosey, I think lefty-lifty. You turn it to the left, you're lifting the bed. So that's my, shoot, what's the name of that literary device? A mnemonic? Is that a mnemonic? Yo, this straight up smells like something's burning. Sometimes that's just like particulates and stuff on the circuit board that's just burning off. Smells a little concerning. Not seeing any smoke, but it's the smell that sometimes is accompanied by smoke and followed up by a short circuit or something. Could be exciting. I'm going to open the window. Alright, so the extruder is up to temperature. It's almost at 70 for the bed. There's also no filament that came with this printer. Ogre cubes. I didn't... Yeah, there was the super chat battle. I see you, and I thank you. I was in the middle of trying to not burn my house down with this kind of sketchy thing that's happening here, but thank you for the super chats. And also, Panther of 7. Any slicer features I'd like to see in the future? Non-planar printing. I want to see that just incorporated in most standard printers where you can have a slightly domed surface and the printer will actually follow that three-dimensional contour. I know it's possible, but it hasn't been incorporated into any mainstream slicers as far as I'm aware. Thanks, Taft. Yeah, alright. Like I said, there's no filament included, but I have some filament here. I've been prepping. In my little dry box, got some Matter Hackers Build PLA, and it's gone by now, but I wish you would have seen this. I've had this in here for maybe 2 hours, and after an hour, this whole top lid was fogged up. So I guess this filament really did absorb a lot of moisture, and it's cool to know that this dry box is doing something. Even though I've gotten by for years without one, I think it is going to help with the brittleness and just with the quality of the printing a little bit. I'm going to take this out and throw in another spool, and maybe we can replicate that fogginess, because it's something I haven't seen before. I was really impressed. Yeah, we've got another spool of build here. I got both of my greens because I want to print some tiny tippy tree leaves today. Throw that in along with the desiccant. I'll put that off to the side for now. Make sure it's still at 45. Yep, 45 Celsius. Good drying temperature for PLA. Don't go broke on the super chat. I need you guys here. I need you to be able to afford internet connection to keep watching my live streams. That's more important. All right. Well, I guess before we feed in the filament, we just want to run the leveling. So let's see. I don't think there's anything special here, but it just says, yeah, temperature, preheat. Then we're going to go to motion and select, well, in the manual it says level corners, but here it says bed leveling. So they've already made some changes since doing the manual. Like I said, with these printers, it seems like they change something every week. So the longer you wait, the newer version of printer you'll be getting. Anyways, I'll hit bed level. Then I'll hit level bed. Oh no, here we go, level corners. Here it goes. Fingers crossed. Don't scratch my build plate. Oh, it homes. Wow. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that the steppers are here on the right side, so it comes over to the right in order to home. Almost every other printer has it on the left side, and I almost thought it was going to have the origin here, but this is still 0, 0. So when you're in your slicer, the origin is still on the bottom left corner of the printer. But yeah, it comes over to the right to zero in, and the Z-steppers on top. They just threw things all over the place. They flipped things around with this printer. Anyways, here we are at the bottom corner. I can use this sheet of paper they gave me to start the leveling. I feel like most of you have seen this before, but let's zoom in anyways. For those of you who are not familiar with the typical leveling procedure, the printer will basically move directly on top of each of these 4 screws on the different corners. You can stick a piece of paper underneath and just slowly raise that until the paper starts dragging a bit. And since I lowered all the screws, I'm also going to adjust these ones a little bit at the same time, because otherwise it's kind of warping the bed. So I kind of want to move them together to some degree. Oh, I'm just looking and there's like a full centimeter, which is not good. You don't really want to have the leveling screws super loose. For one thing, if you have to loosen them too much, the leveling knobs will just fall off. But also, the more you lift the bed, the looser the springs get, and your bed technically is getting a little more wobbly. It looks to me like the nozzle is way too high up. So I'm going to have to actually physically lower the limit switch to make this work. Possibly. Wait a minute. Oh, it's not even adjusting. Wow. So let me see if I can zoom in on this for you guys. We have probably the first pretty critical error with this machine here. This live stream might end up being a lesson in why you don't pre-order printers. You're still probably not going to be able to see it too well. Can anybody guess what I'm about to show you? What the critical error is with leveling this printer? Besides what I just mentioned of the leveling switch being too high, there's something else. Great camera work, I know. Let's get some more light in here. This is rich. All right. I don't know that you're gonna be able to see it. No, I guess not. I'm trying to adjust this, and nothing's happening. And that's because the screw that I'm trying to tighten is rotating with the knob. And even worse so, the build plate here is... Oh, come on. Zoom out. The build plate isn't clipped on with binder plates. Like, some build plates are removable, and then you can access the screws underneath. You can stick a screwdriver on top to adjust it. But this one's literally glued on, and the screw that's between the bed and the aluminum is rotating with this. So it's not even adjusting. Total failure. Total failure. I know zooming in, spending that time adjusting the camera probably didn't help demonstrate things at all, but I could turn this all day and nothing's gonna happen. Maybe I can grab the screw from underneath? I don't know. That's a pretty bad mistake. This thing's pretty junky. What do y'all think? Should I keep trying to print with this machine or throw in the towel and maybe we do something else for an hour or so? I'm almost ready to just, like, I don't know. Nothing has been too impressive about this machine for me right now. This is exactly what I was saying earlier about being an impartial reviewer. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But really, what have they earned? They've given me a very weird looking printer, and what else can I show? Candid, I'd love to show more imperfections, but at this point it would take a bit of finicking around to even get it to the point where it can print. And I do want to get it to the point of printing, because it's a total waste if they send me a printer that is useless. It's not useless, it just takes some work. I mean, maybe I can just peel off the bed and have access to those screws. Let's see. Let's see how well they've stuck it down. So I'm gonna go ahead and lift the bed. Hey, that Z-axis is very quick, I gotta say. Very responsive. And I like this knob, it's got a click to it. Unlike a lot of the wheels where you end up accidentally moving too far, this one actually has a good click, and every time it clicks, it adjusts on the screen. So that's actually better than some printers, but come on, I can't level the bed. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to pry off the bed here. It's already heated up to 70 degrees, so if there is some kind of crappy adhesive holding that down, maybe I can just peel it right off. So I'm just gonna wedge a spatula here in the corner. Don't want to crack this bed, and it's hot, so it's a little bit hard to do this. Oh yeah, it's very hot. I think I need multiple spatulas to pry this up. Whew. I'm gonna use their manual as my mitten. Oh, sorry. I missed your super chat. Joseph, any tips for handling bowed, warped beds? We're about to find out, I think. Okay. Warped bed on the Sidewinder X1s. I love the quiet operation, size, and quality. Mine have beds that are only good for printing in the center when I raise all four corners too high. Now that's interesting, because sometimes there's an issue where like the two diagonal screws are up and these two are down, and that causes the bed to warp. But if you literally just have all corners high and the center is still too low, that could be a real issue with either the shape of the aluminum bed or the actual glass. That's something I would actually reach out to Artillery about, because yeah, if it's leveled in all the corners and not in the centers, and that's usually just a matter of the glass quality, and they should send you another one. From what I've heard, they do send people replacement parts if anything goes wrong. They send me parts, but I'm an influencer, so that doesn't say much. But I have actually heard of other people who are not influencers who do get replacement parts. So that's a nice thing I can say about Artillery. There's not going to be a lot nice I can say about this printer here. This is really stuck down too, so I don't know. I'm probably already bending the aluminum or something while I try to do this. It's also a critical error, because like I'm basically modifying the printer. I'm gonna have to hold this down with binder clips from here on out. Yeah, I could move the Z switch lower and level it that way, but only if all four corners are already leveled correctly relative to each other. Use pliers to hold the screw from the bottom. All right, you're right. That's probably the better approach right now. I was just trying to avoid it because I have a spatula in this room and I don't have pliers. But that's literally the only reason. Oh boy, this is wild. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna run downstairs, grab some pliers. Hang tight, folks. We just might make this work. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay. I need an intermission right here. This printer, it's going off the rails. No audio? There's audio. Isn't there audio? Yeah, y'all, you're playing with me. Okay, I got my tools. So this is officially transitioned from the printer unboxing to a printer repair. That's what happens. As such, for this portion of the live stream, got myself a beer. Yes, contrary to most evidence, I am in fact an adult, and I can have an adult beverage. I also want to show off my 3D printed beer koozie, which apparently a beer koozie is a very American term, according to my Discord group. Basically, it's just something to keep my hands from getting cold from the can, and to keep the can from getting warm from my hands. Cheers. Let's fix this printer. Ooh, that's good. For the adults in the room, this is a modern times pint size, what is it called? Full size pony? Full size pony is the name of the drink. Interesting name. Anyways. Alright. This filament isn't fogging up yet, by the way, so I don't know what I did to get this one so moist that it created a cloud inside the filament dryer. Alright, where were we? We need pliers. We need pliers to hold the screw so that I can adjust the bed level. I'm not going to try to zoom in the camera again, but basically there's a little nib of the screw showing underneath the leveling knobs. Just enough for me to grab onto it and hopefully lift the bed. Oh, but as I lift the bed, that little nub disappears. And like I said, the nozzle's also too high, so I do need to lower the Z-stop here. And it doesn't look like they designed the Z-stop in a way that's easy to adjust. It's there's actually threaded holes tapped into the aluminum extrusion rather than an insert that lets you adjust the Z height. I guess I gotta zoom in on that, because otherwise you will not be seeing anything. So let's make a little move here. All right. There it is. Where's my extra light? Need to get some extra light on here for you guys. There we go. Let's unscrew this and see what it takes to lower it. I might have to go grab some more stuff. Might have to grab... Well, I don't know. I don't even know if I have the parts. I'm gonna take this off for now too. Out of my way, everything. So let's see if I unscrew this little Z-stop here. Wow, great shot, right? It's hard to film things up close like this. I apologize. What am I apologizing for, though? I shouldn't have to deal with this. Alright, let's unplug it. So yeah, see, there's actually like... There's physical holes drilled into the Z slot, so I can't actually move things up or down here on the actual part. There's not much to help there either. Come on. There's a little laser cut spacer made of acrylic, but no easy way to adjust anything here. Like I could get those, whatever. I'm really bad at terminology, in case you haven't noticed. Those little nuts to lock into the aluminum, I could use those. Change these for some shorter screws. And that will allow me to basically mount this lower. Actually, for now, I'm going to try just using... Okay, here's what I'll try for now. Super sketch, but I'm going to use the bottom screw here and the top mounting point here. And we're going to try to mount this with just one screw for now. That's my quick hack. T-nuts. Thank you, chat. That's probably the less janky way of doing things. This is absolutely the most janky way of doing it. Another way would be to 3D print a little adapter, maybe. But if I tighten this enough, it should work, right? I tried to use the pliers, and I might use them later, but I can't lower the bed enough, even with the pliers. This right here, it's quality content. All right, it looks tight enough. Now I might have to lower the bed more, but let's slowly lower the Z. I'm gonna lower it to just 10 millimeters above, and now I'll start adjusting by fractions of a millimeter. Yeehaw! I was not prepared for this. Okay. I guess we gotta lower the camera again. Gotta get that up close and personal view. Maker's Muse, you're here just in time to see everything go wrong. Did you try this printer? I think either you or Joel have already tried out the Hornet, and now I'm wishing I watched your unboxing because maybe you've run into the same problems. Fill them in, chat. Fill them in on everything that's going on right now. All right. Oh. That little injection molded part there is getting in the way of my shot here. I'm trying to get you guys a view of the nozzle. There you go. All right. We're gonna lower this down to Z0, even though now that I moved the end stop down, the actual 0 is going to be a fair bit lower. So that's, you still can't see it. Okay. It's a good summary. The printer is terrible and everything is upside down. Oh, maybe this is the Australian version of the printer. Angus, you'd be able to do this. Anyways, you can't really see what's going on, but now I have to actually try to lower these knobs again, so I'm going to go ahead and use my pliers. So I can grab the leveling screw and try to tighten that knob. It is working, but this is definitely not the way you want to have to level your printers, right? This is probably the most inconvenient way I've ever had to level a printer. But then again, I'm very glad that the norm switched from 3 leveling screws to 4. I know 3 is the minimum that's necessary, but having 4 leveling screws really is a bit easier. I think this is working. Oh yeah, they're lower. Let me do that to the back as well. Oh, my cables are getting tangled up here. This is just madness. Speaking of like it being impossible to be unbiased, despite the fact that I am criticizing every little part of this printer, especially by now, my frustration has come to the surface. But if this wasn't a brand that I was friendly with, or at least like I liked their last 2 printers, I probably wouldn't have accepted this like pre-review unit in the first place. And this has me realizing that I probably shouldn't have made an exception for this printer. Alright, have I done it? Looks like all the leveling screws are pretty tight now. So now the moment of truth is to re-home it and hope that it homes to the point where the nozzle is just like a millimeter above the bed, so I could raise everything again and get something printing. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to auto home. Oh gosh, this is especially terrifying because it homes on the right side but still has the origin on the left. That means it's gonna home here and then it's gonna move over. So if the nozzle is too low, it could just scratch across the entire bed. So I gotta be ready to stop it. Oh man, lots of regretful review units, huh? Yeah, I kind of stopped doing reviews for a good while. Now I'm understanding. What led to those decisions? All right, anyways, let's try it. Let's try it. Auto home. Where's the off switch in case I need to just slam that? Oh yeah. That was going way too low. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess I did move the Z switch down a lot. I guess the T-nut solution is kind of where things are heading right now. What say we? I was prepared to do some work on here, but it seems like it'll be really inconvenient trying to test little solutions for this pretty junky looking printer. I don't think it's worth it. If it might have been worth it if it was like a printer that a lot of people already have their hands on, and I'm helping you figure out how to make it work. But at this point, I'm just gonna suggest you don't get it unless they make significant improvements. And even then, I don't really understand why this printer needs to exist. If I'm being honest. I kind of feel like we should do something completely different. Or maybe I should just do another live stream tomorrow with something completely different. What do you think? Y'all feel like sticking around for a little bit? I do have something that we might be able to work on. A little surprise stream part 2. I think so. Let's do it. All right. Give me another 5-minute commercial break. Yeehaw! Okay. In my quickest transition ever, we've moved over to my computer desk for something completely different. After all, this was just about chilling and unboxing. Alright, later Angus, thanks for popping by. Yeah, so for something completely different, I whipped out, hold on, let me get out of the way here. This is a little thrift store find I have. It's a Taylor clock, and it's also got temperature and humidity readings on it. Taylor makes guitars, and that's all I knew them for, but then I found this thing, and I did a little research, and I found out they do a lot of things besides guitars. But this is pretty cool, I thought, and I got a really good deal on it. And it's completely broken. So I guess tonight we're gonna open it up, try to diagnose what's wrong with it. And if it's easy enough, maybe we could fix it right away. But just as likely we'll end up with a pile of nuts and bolts, and I'll throw in the towel or not. I don't know. This is something I wasn't planning on doing today, but I also wasn't planning on that printer being so darn flawed. I'm not sure how mechanical this clock is. I do think it's a mechanical clock. There's some rattling, so something's loose in here. The most obvious entry point or starting point is to take these two screws out. One of them looks pretty stripped, so let's hope that we can at least get past that stage. Whoa! Almost lost our audio. Yeah, get the pliers just in case, right? You might need them. So I've got my super cheap, like $5 kit of 1,000,000 screwdriver heads. Let's do it. No one saw this coming today. I think I can focus that a little better. So this is basically how I got into design in a way. Before I knew product design was a thing, way before, when I was just a young kid. I was that kid who basically took all my toys apart as soon as I figured out how to do that. So my dad has always had quite a wood shop in the house. And that means all sorts of tools. I had all the screwdrivers and hammers I could ask for, so I was able to start unscrewing all my toys and usually not putting them back together. But that's how you learn a lot. So even if this doesn't come back together, it will be a learning experience. Look at this. The base is literally just this little block of wood. Painted on the sides, top and bottom is just left blank. If this were a restoration, I could go over this with some steel wool. I probably will, although some of this has been eaten through completely with rust, it seems. This felt could be replaced as well, quite frankly. So maybe I won't reassemble that today. I could do some finishing work on it. Anyways, this is the unit itself. That was literally just the base, so I think we have to unscrew some more. There's some very deep holes in here, and I can see at least the 4 corners have screws. I'm having trouble seeing inside the rest. Let me see if I can get my phone light. Katie, you're asking if the CR10 V3 is a good option for a beginner. I actually haven't tried the V3. I did destroy the CR10 V2 by trying to do the direct drive conversion. They sent me the conversion kit. For one thing, it had a bad batch of E3D extruders where the plastic was super fragile that held together the extruder mechanism, so that shattered. But anyways, I fixed that, and something else went wrong, and I short-circuited the machine. I got that lovely magic smoke. The screen died. That's something I've had sitting around in the garage for quite a while now, unsure of exactly how to fix it. Because like I've said, I'm not the most electronically oriented person. I'm very much more about physical structures and things. I don't know. Now the CR10S is probably a better choice, as Bob suggests. I'm a big fan of the CR10S. Even the original CR10, I have some that work just fine, but the dual Z-axes on the CR10S, as well as just some minor improvements beyond that, probably make it a great printer. Among the ones that have been around for a little bit longer. Anyways, let's see if I can even reach these screws in the back. Lovely. Not going to work with this one. I do have another screwdriver, but the Phillips head is a lot smaller on this one. Hopefully I don't strip these screws. No resistance. Oh, some clicking. Oh no, it's happening. Can I improve the lighting here a bit for y'all? Maybe. Is the artillery Sidewinder a good second printer? Probably. I don't know what your first printer is, but the Sidewinder is a pretty awesome printer. I'm not gonna consider the fact that there are the same people who made this ridiculous Hornet today. The Sidewinder, on its own, is a pretty awesome printer, in my experience. There have been a few mixed experiences. I've read accounts of people getting ones with all kinds of bad wires and such, but also from what I've heard, their customer support is pretty decent. If they screw up, they'll send you a replacement. So I don't know what they're going to do with that Hornet printer. I don't have a long screwdriver set, but luckily this one right here is long enough. And there we go. Oh, interesting. So it is mechanical. And it's dirty. Look at that. CNC'd wood box. This is solid wood. Pretty impressive. This is how they made things in the olden days. It wasn't all just particle board and veneer. They used actual hard wood. Can you believe it? I definitely want to clean this all out before I reassemble it. And look at this. The humidity and the temperature mechanisms are entirely mechanical. They're just these springs. And as the springs heat up or cool down, the metal actually expands or contracts respectively. And that's meant to be tuned, fine-tuned, so that the expansion and contraction actually moves the dials and accurately gives you the temperature and humidity. I don't know if I can fix that if it's not working, but maybe it is working. I haven't actually paid attention. Is it 78 degrees in here right now? That, well, could be. Is the humidity 50%? It could be. Duplicat, why are you betting against me not being able to fix this? I bet I can, because look at that. It just needs a battery. Ah. That's probably literally the only thing that's missing here is the battery. Mechanical things like this tend not to just break. This is loose, so it looks like there's a nut there that we could tighten. We just have to open this up. Then we can access that nut and tighten this a bit. Even though that's not necessary, it'd be nice to get rid of that wobble. But I'm betting just putting that, tighten that and put a battery in here and we're probably good. I'm not sure what kind of battery this takes. It might be a C or a D battery, so that could be the other thing we run into, which is just not having the right battery. Eric, I don't know what you mean. A human bobbit version of this clock. I'm not going to make a wearable clock. It's a fun idea though. And Stephanie, when will I do another 3D pen video? I'm planning on doing another one pretty soon. At the very least, I have to do more pegboard pixels because I've gained a good number of Patreon supporters since the last one. All right, so let's take out these next screws. It's all just very dusty and dirty too. I'll use my little bulb duster to get some of that dust out of the clock and into my room. This might kill me. I've got some pretty gnarly allergies, and this dust is probably 80, probably 20 or 30 years old. The dust in here might be older than I am. The temperature and humidity, they're not attached to each other. And it's pretty interesting that they both use springs. I was familiar with the concept of using a spring like this for thermostats and for temperature, but I didn't know it worked for humidity as well. And someone out there might know what metals are here. I believe the idea is actually that it's two metals. It's got one metal on the outside and a different metal on the inside, and they have different expansion and contraction rates, which causes this rotation, which causes them to wind up or unwind. You can Google it. I'm just a guy who takes things apart sometimes. I don't actually know what I'm doing. UV, which is better in hardness, PLA or ABS? PLA is actually harder in terms of like brittle. It has less flex to it. ABS is a little more resilient because it can handle a bit more bending. Personally, I found that I can do just about everything I want to with PLA, but if you want something that's gonna last in your hot car, that's when ABS comes in handy. And actually, at that point, you're getting exposed to a lot of UV, so ABS is probably still not the best solution. At that point, you might want to use ASA or something. ASA is basically like ABS with UV-resistant properties. All right, let's take these 4 screws out. A bimetallic strip, exactly. And thanks for joining 3D Gloop. It's cool to see you here. I've still got a big old tin of 3D Gloop that I haven't used most of it. I need to start glooping some more things. Yeetus, PETG, is also a fantastic material that I'm just learning to love now that I teamed up with Greengate for that cool gray. Of course, I used PETG before, but I'm definitely learning to appreciate it more now. It's a pretty awesome material, very chemically resistant. That's one of the best things about it. But I also learned that it can tear chunks out of your glass bed. Ooh, look at that. I love the minimalism. So there we have the bare mechanism.